No, but we hope it won't. Well, now, before we start on your category, Win, suppose you step in here and tell our listeners and our newlyweds how Break the Bank works, will you?
Yes, step aside, old man. You know, all our contestants are selected from the studio audience just before we go on the air, and then they choose a category from our list. The number one question is worth $10, then $20, $30, $50, $100, $200, $300, and then the Break the Bank question, which is always worth $500 or more. And every time that bank is broken, we start the bank going again with a new $500. Okay, bud?
Okay, fair enough. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Gagne, remember, if you make one mistake, you merely slip back a step. But if you make two mistakes, you get paid off wherever you are, and Trouchet and Talapatica add a like amount to the bank. Now, as Wynn told you, the bank is worth $1,350, and I imagine you could use a little of that folding stuff. You've chosen Make-Believe People as your category, so we're going to slip off into the land of make-believe, where I guess you've kind of been living for the last 6 weeks or so, especially when you're getting ready to get married, and meet up with some of the characters you'd find there. Okay, for $10, here's a make-believe youngster, a fat little cherub you ought to be familiar with, who always plays darts with hearts. Who is this little fella with a bow and arrow?
Dan Cupid?
Dan Cupid is right. The answer's meant buries her face in his broad, manly bosom here. Okay, you're at $10 reaching for $20. Dan Cupid's a real young fella. Now, let's go to meet a real old fella. He's got a long beard, dressed up in something that looks like an old-fashioned nightshirt, and instead of a bow and arrow, he carries a scythe over his shoulder. What's he called?
Time?
Father Time is right. You got $20. Hey, look at here, Bob. She's making all the money here. How come?
She got the brains of the family.
She got the brains of the family. All right, you're at $20, folks. You're reaching now for $30. Here is a song sung by a number of make-believe characters in a famous movie fairy tale. Listen to the tune and tell me what the characters were called. All right, Lou? The Seven Dwarfs is right. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You're at $30 now, reaching for $50. Men who sailed the briny deep used to say that there was a make-believe fellow at the bottom of the sea who always provided a resting place for sailors. What's his name?
Davy Jones?
Davy Jones, yes, ma'am. All right, folks are now at $50, reaching for $100. You have made no mistakes so far. Tell me, was it a large wedding, Miss Gagne?
It was a fairly large one.
Fairly large? Were you very nervous?
Yes.
You were. How about it? Were you nervous too, Bob?
I was shaking.
You were shaking, uh-huh.
Just like now, yeah.
Just like you're shaking now. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Gagne here at $50, reaching for $1,350 in our Trouchet and Talapatica Bank. Here's a musical clue now to a make-believe character. I'll tell you this much. He's a man. You tell me where he lives. Okay, Lou? In the moon. Paper moon is right. Newlyweds now have earned yourselves $100. You're reaching for $200. This is an easy way to make money, don't you think, Bob? Huh? How about it, Miss Gagne? You like this way?
Yes.
All you have to do now is just keep on answering questions, and in a very few minutes we hand you $1,350.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like that. That's right. All right, now let's go on with some more make-believe characters. You're reaching for $200, a name that is symbolic of lady lawyers. Today came from a make-believe character in Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. This lady disguised herself as a lawyer and won that famous case involving the pound of flesh. Remember? What was her name? Famous lady lawyer in The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Pound of flesh, Shylock, and all that. What was her name? You have 5 more seconds, Mr. and Mrs. Robert Gagne of Springfield, Massachusetts.
I think I guess Venus.
No, I'm sorry. It was Portia. Portia's who it was. But that's right. Stay around here. Don't walk away, boy. Put your arm around her again there. You're at $50 again, but you're coming back up the line. Let's see if you can recoup that $50 loss. Here's another make-believe character now, reaching again for $100. The Wizard of Oz is a make-believe person who has delighted countless youngsters. Now, in the famous movie, The Wizard of Oz, you remember it, Miss Gagne? Okay. It starred Judy Garland. What star of the screen played the part of Professor Marvel, the Wizard?
Ray Bolton?
No. You want to take a guess? I'll give you a guess, too, since you're newlyweds. How about it? Famous movie actor and screen actor, too. And stage actor, too. You know who it was?
Bert.
No, I'm sorry. It was Frank Morgan. Frank Morgan. Now, wait a minute. Don't run away until we say goodbye to you here. You're so anxious to get away from me. Because you two, along with having a very happy honeymoon, we hope that you have a very, very happy married life. God bless you both. You've nevertheless won yourselves from Trouchet and Talapatica $50. Go over to Janice, our page. Hey, Wynn,
Yeah.
Did I hear you and this little lady say something about women who lead double lives?
Well, Bud, we were really talking about women's hands leading double lives.
Mm-hmm, including mine. Think of all those homekeeping jobs our hands are busy with each day. Dishwashing, cleaning, laundry. Why, they're in and out of hot, soapy water half the day, it seems.
That's rough on those precious hands, isn't it?
Especially when you want to dress up and go glamorous in the evening. But thanks to a marvelously different idea in hand care, I, for one, never worry.
Well, you better explain that to our listeners, ma'am.
I'd love to. There's a lotion made especially for hands that lead a double life. It's Trouche, the beforehand lotion. You see, Trouche stops the damage before it starts because you smooth it on beforehand, before you do dishes, before all of your soap and water jobs. Trouche guards hands even in hot, soapy water. Actually helps prevent soap and water's drying damage.
And Trouche softens and smooths your hands while you work, too. You can depend on this creamy, fragrant lotion to bring new loveliness to your hands. So get the lotion that will help you to lead a more glamorous double life. Get Trouche, the beforehand lotion. Trouche.
Well, that bank is growing right up there now because Trouche and Salapatica added a like amount to the bank when Mr. and Mrs. Gagne won $50 and it's now up to the sum of $1,400. Win? Who are the next ones who'd like to break our bank?
All the way from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Bud, it's Mr. and Mrs. Elvin Danielson. Meet Bud Collier.
Well, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Danielson. Welcome to Break the Bank. Nice to meet you both. Bright, smiling people. You're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Win.
Thank you. I'll leave.
All right. There you go again. His arm around you pretty wise, you see. I was out in Milwaukee not too long ago. I want to tell you that's one of the friendliest towns I was ever in. Have you found it that way?
We have quite a reputation for that.
I want to say they were sure wonderful to me. Believe me, everywhere you went, they just couldn't be more helpful and more cooperative. Have you two lived out there all your lives?
Yes, we have.
You have. And you've been married how long?
3 years last June.
Come in a little closer so we can hear every word you say. 3 years last June. Do you have any children?
No, we
And
don't.
what is it you do, Elvin?
I'm the sales engineer for Alice Chalmers.
Are you?
That's right.
Like your job?
Very much.
Like your wife?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Danielson, married 3 years from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You have selected a category, I don't know why, called Lost Loves. Yours certainly isn't lost. That's why I asked you that. All the world may love a lover, but nothing can start the tears of flowing quite, I guess, like the story of a lover who's cast aside for another. So let's see how well you two folks know some of the lost loves of song, story, and real life. Now, for $10 in a famous series of Bob Hope, Bing Crosby pictures, like The Road to Morocco, The Road to Utopia, one guy always got the gal, the other always lost her. Who always lost the gal, Hope or Crosby? I hope you get this one.
Yes,
Bob Hope. Bob Hope is right. You're at $10 now, reaching for $20. Mr. and Mrs. Elvin Danielson of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The harmony was close and sad when the barbershop quartet sang about this guy who lost his gal. Listen while Lou White plays it, and you tell me the name of the tune, okay? All right, Lou. Somebody what?
Somebody stole my
Somebody stole my gal is right. There's $20 now, reaching for $30, and there is $1,400 in our Trouche and Sal Hepatica Bank. Here's a song that shrieks of a lost love. Play it, Lou. The one that he surprised. No. It's a guy shrieking of a lost love.
To somebody else.
That's right. All right. What's before that now? Who is your wife? Who is she?
The gal.
She's the one you what?
The one I love.
All right. Go on.
Belongs to somebody.
That a boy. All right, now we gave you a helping hand there. You're at $30 reaching for $50. See if you can come along on your own from here on. A former Harvard student recently made headlines when he lost his lady love to the King of Egypt. Tell me the name of the king who won the girl. What's the King of Egypt's name?
King Farouk.
King Farouk is right. You're $50 for $100. All right, Mr. and Mrs. Danielson, you've made no mistakes so far. Tell me, Mr. Danielson, does your wife cook for you?
Oh, yes, and a
Yeah.
very good cook.
She is.
She
What's
really
your
is.
favorite dish that she fixes for
She
you?
can broil steaks the way they should be.
She can.
Yeah.
How do you do it? Mrs. Danielson?
Oh, just heat up the oven real well and put it 4 inches from the broiler and 7 minutes on each side.
How about that? Isn't that wonderful?
Really good, too.
You don't find that uncomfortable, huh? Turning over from one side to the other while you take it broiling? Doesn't bother you.
Well, I don't crawl in with the...
Oh, you don't? All right, Miss Danielson, let's move along now. You're at $50 reaching for $100. Olivia de Havilland won an Academy Award as the lady who lost her love the night she was supposed to elope with him. When her lover finally decides to come back, years later, she throws him over. Now, what was the name of this picture about lost love and revenge starring Olivia de Havilland and Montgomery Clift? What was the name?
Revenge.
I'm sorry, it happened to be The Heiress.
Oh.
You remember that now? It was based on the novel Washington Square. Well, now, don't be downhearted, George. $30. You've only gone back one step. Let's see if we can move back up the line. Okay, Mr. and Miss Danielson? Fair enough. Here we go. A famous Puccini opera tells about Cho-Cho San, who loves and loses the American naval officer Lieutenant Pinkerton. Opera about lost love by Puccini. No, do you want to take a guess before your husband gets one? Oh, come on, madam. Come on, madam. I'm sure you can do it. Not a butterfly. Not a butterfly. All right, now you're strictly on your own. You're strictly on your own from here on. I want to warn you. That's the most we can do for you. Mr. and Mrs. Danielson, the only thing that bothers me is I said, you surely ought to know this one, madam, and he answered. Okay, here we go. $50 reaching for $100, $1,400 in our Trouche and Salapatica Bank in a famous musical play about the South. The crippled hero loses his gal to a character named Sportin' Life. She runs off to New York with him when he sings There's a Boat That's Leaving Soon for New York. What is this famous musical called? Big hit. Beg pardon?
Showboat?
Showboat? No, I'm sorry. It was Porgy and Bess.
Oh.
Porgy and Bess. But Mr. and Mrs. Danielson, it's been nice having you visit us here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Keep up that good cooking for him there.
Well,
God bless you both.
thanks a
Trouche and Salapatica take great pleasure in awarding you $50. Go over to Janet, our bank teller, and collect. Well, the bank has grown up there by $50 leaps and bounds. It's now up at the sum of $1,450. Who's next, Win?
A couple of tars from the United States Navy, Bud. Vincent Oletta, he comes from Astoria, Long Island, and Edward Whitebread, he comes from Syracuse, New York.
Well, I
Let's
reckon
see.
they'd like to get a hold of some of that money. Hiya, boys. Which one is Vincent Oletta?
Right here.
Hi, Vincent. Welcome to Break the Bank. And then you, of course, then are Edward Whitbread or Whitebread?
Whitbread.
Whitbread, I see. All right. It's just the E is missing. That's the only thing that makes it different from Whitebread, isn't it? Where's your home originally, Vincent?
Well, Bridgeport, Connecticut is originally, but now I'm living in Astoria because my wife is staying near Brooklyn. You know,
I see. How long have you been married?
4 years.
How many children?
Yeah, 5-month-old daughter.
Oh, wonderful. What's her name?
Jeanette.
You see this guy grin when he talks about it. How about you, Ed? Do you have any children?
No, sir.
Oh.
I've been married 4.5 years.
You have, I see. And is your wife living down where you can be with her, or is she
No,
up?
she's up in Syracuse.
Oh, that's too bad. How long do you expect to be away now?
A year or so.
Yes, you just don't know, do you? It makes it kind of tough on Navy or Army wives. Win, what are you here for? No pretty girls here right
Well,
now.
I just feel so sorry about calling this chap Whitebread.
Oh, I see. Well, you just make a wry face and
That's
go over and
what
sit in the corner, huh? All right. We're off. You'll excuse me for that, won't you, Vincent and Ed, please? All right, X marks the spot is your category. There's $1,450 in our Trouche and Salapatica Bank. And in this category, X marks the spot, we're going to see how much you know about certain famous spots in real-life song and story. Now, for $10, let's see if you fellas can put an X on the spot in the town of Blarney, in the castle of Blarney, where you might acquire the gifts of Gab and Blarney by kissing the Blarney what?
Stone.
No, that was tough, wasn't it? All right, for $20 now, you're at $10. What island paradise is suggested by the song Lou White is coming up with now? X marks the spot for us. Okay, Lou?
Hawaiian Island.
Hawaii, okay. Beach and Waikiki is the name of it. Beach and Waikiki. All right, you're at $20 now, reaching for $30, fellas. X marks the spot where the old lady in the nursery rhyme lived. She had so many children she didn't know what to do. Where'd she live?
In a shoe.
In a shoe, right? Sure. All right, $30 now, reaching for $50, Vincent Oletta and Edward Whitbread, United States Navy. This next tune will X out a spot where you might be meeting your sweetheart. Listen and tell me where that would be. All right, Lou?
Dreamland.
Dreamland, you got it, boy. Now, reaching for 100, you fellas have made no mistake so far. You're moving up in fine, speedy style here. Now, the eruption of fiery Mount Vesuvius completely buried a famous Italian city in the year 79 A.D. Pompeii, before he even got through the question. $100 now, reaching for 200. Can you put an X on the street where fiction's most famous sleuth, Sherlock Holmes, hung his hat? In better words, name the street where Holmes lived in the popular Conan Doyle series. This is one that you certainly ought to know, Ed. You really ought to know it. The audience knows why he ought to... Where? Baker. Baker Street is right. Nice going, Whitebread. Win.
You're right, Chief.
Oh, I tell you, he's going to keep on calling you Whitebread, you know? That guy Elliot has got more crust. All right, let's go. You're now at $200. You're reaching for $300, which is the gateway to the bank. In other words, if you two men answer 2 more questions correctly, Truche and Sal Hepatica will award you